What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dave Cave. I, as always, am Dave. So what we're going to do today is, I just got done, not 15 minutes ago, rewatching House of a Thousand Corpses by Rob Zombie. This fucking movie. I haven't watched this movie, I think, since I bought it, all the way through. I turned it on. I've turned it on multiple times in the last 15 years since I've owned this fucking thing. And I always seem to make it just to Showtime. And then that's when it gets fucked up. It stops being more enjoyable for me. But when we found out that there was going to be 3 from Hell, I figured I'm going to have to go back and watch this movie again. I'm going to have to watch it, watch the second one, because usually in trilogies, they harken back to the first, sometimes with the second, but it's a little bit more tricky because the second one in this series is nothing like the first. There's still fucked up things in both of them, but it's nothing like the first. The first one is a completely different beast. So we're going to get into that and talk about this movie as a whole. Basically, fuck this movie, but here we go. So the movie starts off, well, even before you get into the movie, the one redeeming factor for me is Captain Spaulding, played by Sid Haig. We find out his name in the second one. I can't exactly remember what it is. Oh, and before we go any further, this is full-on spoilers. We're talking about the whole movie here. No, whatever. We're talking about the whole thing, front to back, up and down. I'm not going to dissect every little bit of it, but we're talking about the whole movie as it is. Who lives, who dies, who doesn't live, who doesn't die, all that shit. So, back to it. So, from the beginning, you love Captain Spaulding. I loved Captain Spaulding. It took down my guard in terms of what this character would be. And that's what is like I was saying, was one of the redeeming factors of this movie, of getting this Blu-ray, DVD, because there wasn't Blu-ray back 15 years ago. Getting this DVD is you turn it on and he is the menu. And he's hilarious. You just leave it on and you can watch the whole thing. It's very entertaining and very much his Captain Spaulding character. And the Captain Spaulding is definitely a character. And you find that out not for a very long time in this movie, that Captain Spaulding is a character. And then, so you meet up with Captain Spaulding right from the get-go. You meet up with him. You find out that basically he's no... what's the word? You find out that basically he has no qualms about violence and all that shit. Kind of loves all of the insanity of violence and all that stuff. And he has a horror ride and all of that. So, fucks up these couple guys that try to rob him. And then you find they do the weird ass intro, which that's another redeeming quality of this movie for me. Is that theme, the House of a Thousand Corpses song that Rob Zombie did. I remember listening to it a lot when it first came out. And then, we get Chris Hardwick and Rainn Wilson, which was hilarious for me, rewatching this and remembering that Rainn Wilson is in this. I remembered that Chris Hardwick was, but I didn't know who Rainn Wilson was back then. And so that was fun to see them only for a minute. Not see them for a minute, but only fun for a minute until Showtime. So that was fun to see all that and just the nuance of how well everybody brings these kids in and what they're doing. For those who haven't seen the movie, they're going cross country, checking out all these fucked up attractions so that they can write a book about it. And this is in 1977, so there's no internet, no cell phones, no nothing, which works because, you make a cell phone call and holy shit and whatever. So right from the get-go, after you meet these kids and you find out what they're about, you really start to take in the atmosphere of what Rob Zombie does. And while The Devil's Reject was better received by a lot of people, having watched this movie again, I have a better appreciation for it, probably because I'm 15 years older and I've seen a lot more shit since then. But I appreciated what he was trying to do in this movie. He does a very good job making this movie do what he wants it to do. And luckily, this is before all of the, I'll skull fuck the shit out of you. You get a little bit of that in here, but for some reason it works when Captain Spaulding says it, and you understand that Grandpa's supposed to be left to center and crude and whatever, but it's not throughout the whole thing. It's messed up, but it's not that type of language, which I thought always took away from Halloween. So with this movie, you have Bill Moseley. He kind of steals this movie. He has all the good monologues, all the good conversation pieces with everybody. He's fucking twisted in this movie. He's so messed up. I mean, he kisses Denise with her dad's fucking face sewn onto his face. It's so fucked up. But I get it now. I get it better now. I respect it for what it was supposed to be. Then it was just fucking crazy. And it is still fucking crazy. I'm saying fuck a lot because this movie just messes with my head. There's a reason I don't watch this thing regularly. Well, here, I was gonna do this. I'm gonna read the back of this. This is the whole thing in a nutshell. 2 young couples take a misguided tour onto the back roads of America in search of a local legend known as Dr. Satan. Lost and stranded, they are set upon a bizarre family of psychotics. Murder, cannibalism, and satanic rituals are just a few of the 1,000 plus horrors that await. Quote, one hell of a great horror movie. Tobe Hooper, director of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Poltergeist. You know why Tobe Hooper liked this movie? Because it's fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre with a little bit Rob Zombie spin on it. There's so much homages to different things in this movie. You got Texas Chainsaw Massacre of the story as a whole. You look at Tiny, immediately, to me, he always looked like Freddy Krueger. And then you have Uber Jason at the end of this movie. And not even really Uber Jason, but Jason. He is Jason. Whatever. I don't think they even really give him a name. I think Dr. Satan tries to say, but you can't really hear it. But you get homages to all that type of stuff. It's a solid horror movie. I don't enjoy it overall. For me, I thought through this whole movie that Dr. Satan was Otis. That just, for some reason, I got that feel. Even when he says the line, the stories are real, the boogeyman's real, and you found him, I think is how that line ends up being. And so I thought, okay, you found him, you found the boogeyman. And then I thought maybe Dr. Satan was more like an essence, like they are Dr. Satan. And then you fucking meet him, and whew. Another reason I don't like this movie, or I don't enjoy this movie, is it ruined fucking Brick House for me. The scene where they're torturing Rainn Wilson and they turn him into fucking Fish Boy just destroyed that song for me. I still, to this day, cannot listen to that song and not think about that scene. I almost always have to turn it off. Take that for what it's worth, but damn, man. Another thing this movie gets right is Sherry Moon Zombie playing Baby. For me, this is her best performance. She nails all around what Baby is supposed to be. And that fucking laugh. Ugh, just nails on a chalkboard to me. But it's right. It's what it's supposed to be. She's supposed to be twisted and overly jovial about all the fucked up shit she does. And I found it interesting. And like the longest I think you hear that laugh is when she kills Mary. And oddly, Mary, despite being chased and tortured in that way, and mentally tortured, she gets off easy compared to the rest of them. She gets a bunch of stabs in the chest, where Denise, who you think gets away, we'll get to that. Rainn Wilson gets turned into Fish Boy, and Jerry gets fed to Dr. Satan after already being tortured and having the haircut from hell. So I thought that was very interesting how they just decided to be like, all right, we're just going to kill her. And something I noticed through this whole movie is you don't really get a clear cut that they're going to get them. And a few times, if you listen to it, Captain Spaulding gives them an out. He's like, you guys really don't want to fucking do this. And then they do it. Probably a tactic to get them more interested, but tells them you don't want to do this. At the dinner, just before showtime, Otis says, you don't want to fucking do it. And then he gets cut off by Grandpa. Grandpa's like, they want to know. He's like, fine. And so I thought that was very interesting. I might just be reading into that, but I thought it was interesting that for all intents and purposes, they kind of had outs. They kind of had ways to get out. But then 5 minutes later, after, showtime and, then they go to get away and are done and all that, and then they get ambushed and all fucked up, and the car gets messed up, and Tiny busts the window and all that. And shit just goes off the rails. Like I said, I watched the movie up until showtime. When Grandpa says, it's showtime, that's when I'm done. I go, okay, I've seen enough. I know where it's going. I don't need to see it again. It has plenty of bleh from there on out. What I do like, having watched it again, like I said, I have a new appreciation for it. What I did like is that after all the torture scenes and all the interspersed little clips that add all kinds of tension and weirdness and kind of, they get back to a horror suspense kind of thing in the chase scene after the coffin above the superhumans, I guess is what you would call them, the little underlings of Dr. Satan. So that was nice. Another thing I really like about this movie, we're jumping around here and I apologize. I have a lot of thoughts in my head about this movie. But something I always really liked and always really hated at the same time was that fucking pan out shot when the cops go to save them. They get the lead, they go to the house, and then shit goes off the rails. Shit goes off the rails a lot. And so they get ambushed, Denise's dad gets killed, the sheriff gets killed, and then you have the dipshit who's afraid of dogs has a gun to his face, and I timed it. It's 27 seconds from when they start the pan out to the pan out to the gunshot. It's 27 seconds. I remember in the theater when I first saw it, everybody just sitting there, and you could hear people going, people tussling. I remember one guy saying, what the fuck? And then boom, it happens. It is so messed up and so perfect that I hate it but respect it for what it is. That's how I feel. I guess you'd say that's my overall feeling of this movie, is I hate it but I respect it. I get what it is supposed to be and how they do it. He does it very, very well. The atmosphere in this movie, the music in this movie does a very good job of keeping you on edge and keeping you not knowing where they're going to go, because you don't know where they're going to go. In that scene, the save scene where the cops go to the house, there's all this tension music, and then they kick on some kind of odd, weird tune that has nothing to do with the scene, like how they kick on Brick House for torturing Bill, Rainn Wilson. It's so messed up, but it works because it just sits something in your chest, and you're like, man, I don't like it. But you like it because it's done well. Yet another thing that I like about this movie is that when you get towards the end, you get the feeling nobody's going to survive. There's no way they could. They got them. There's no hope at all. And then you think there is going to be hope. Denise gets away from Uber Jason. And, sorry, that's just what I call him. Gets away from Jason. And then you see Captain Spaulding, and you're like, fuck, yes. She's getting away. She's getting away. All's going to be good. Nope. And with the end, you have this reveal of Captain Spaulding. And I remember at the time being so bummed out that he ends up being not a good guy. It made me so sad. But, I mean, he's not a good guy. But not that he was part of all of this made me sad. Because you have this, Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of, I made it. And obviously she doesn't talk at the end of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. She just laughs hysterically. But you have that I got away feeling. And then Otis gets up and fuck. There's no happiness in this movie. There are bits of comedy here and there, little bits of humor. And sometimes they're in those little interspersed little scenes that add just to that weirdness that sits in your chest. But There's no joy. There's only joy in murder in this movie. And that's the joy that the Firefly family gets from killing these kids. There's no joy on our side of the fence. There's only joy on that side of the fence, and that side of the fence is fucked 2 ways till Sunday. I'm not going to be watching this movie again for quite a while. At least I don't plan to. This will be my watch to preface it for 3 from Hell. I have no idea when we're getting 3 from Hell. I'll look that up. I might rewatch Devil's Rejects. I enjoy that one overall, and I know that there are more brutal movies out there. I get it. I'm going to be watching another one of those very soon. At least I've heard that it's more brutal than this movie. But that's not the point. Like, these people are twisted. But it's supposed to be. And like I said, I respect that in this movie. I respect what they're trying to do, what they're supposed to be, and what they're trying to be. So, if you haven't watched it, I've probably just ruined the whole fucking movie for you. But I apologize for that. But if you haven't watched it and what you've heard me talk about intrigues you, go watch it. It's worth a watch. It's worth the experience. If you like horror and you like some torture and you like carnage and all kinds of crazy shit, go watch it. You'll probably have a good time. If you like horror, it's worth seeing, at least to have that in your brain as a reference point for some of the other zombie films. This was his directorial debut, and he never looked back. He just got crazier and crazier. So yeah, go watch it, have the experience, and if you watch it because of this, please come back, comment below, and let me know what you thought. And if you have seen this already, let me know what you think of this movie below. I think it's fucking bonkers, but I'd really love to hear what other people have to say about this. Who else loves this movie, hates this movie, thinks this movie's shit, thinks The Devil's Rejects is way better. I guess there's a case for that now in my brain of which one's better for what it tries to be. But yeah, hit the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. And if you like this little rant discussion, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, because as I say, we always got more coming. Thank you so much for stopping by the Dave Cave. Take care.